Do you recall what was the fun the day the music died? We started singing "My Bye, Miss American Pie."
Hi, I'm Jordan Roth, and welcome to episode 32 of DALLÄSTHETIC. I'm lucky to sit here with Thor Johnson today. Hi, Thor.
Hey, thank you, Jordan.
You got a brief introduction to Thor's musical genre, I guess you could say. Well, that was really part of a performance from it's like 2016 or something, and it was with Robert David Reedy and Joaquin West.
That's right.
And what was the show?
It was the White Window, Black Mirror, Black Burqa show.
That's right.
At Beef House.
Yeah. And you had set yourself up in the old safe, I guess.
Yes.
Wasn't it?
I was doing karaoke in the old safe and waving my flashlight around.
And that was American Pie. Was it
Yes.
American Pie and
Bye
other
Bye,
favorites?
Miss American Pie.
What were some other tunes that?
Oh, Neil Diamond, LA's fun, but it ain't home.
Nice.
And, I Am, I Said, of course.
Of course.
And then a million other songs.
Many others. Yeah.
If you weren't there, I'm not going to tell you.
Okay. Sounds fair enough. So you are a multidisciplinary artist. You do all kinds of things. When did you decide? At what point in your life did you decide you were an artist?
Oh, I decided I was an artist at a very early age, as a child. And my mother got me coloring books and modeling clay, and also just paper to color on.
And so you
And I hated the coloring books.
Oh, you hated the coloring books?
Yes.
You don't like to color inside the
No.
lines? Certainly not. And so initially you were drawing. Did you go to any school for art or anything?
Not really. I went to a terrible Christian school that was in Addison, still Addison.
Oh, wow.
And it's called Trinity Christian Academy.
So that's your non-endorsement for Trinity
Yes,
Christian.
I do not recommend it at all.
Okay. Good to know.
Don't send your kids there.
So after school, you continued doing art, and you draw and you paint, but you do all kinds of things. I mean, you work in kind of like a 3D realm. Not only do you do 3D art,
Yes.
but you work within a 3D realm.
Yes.
So, kind of tell me how that works.
Well, technically, everything starts off as a cube or a sphere. And then I model all of these things out of a
Nice.
cube or a sphere.
Really?
Yeah.
And then you can move them around and
Oh, I can move them around. I can animate them. I could move the camera around from where it is. I can move everything.
So, who are some of your artistic inspirations?
I like Otto Dix, Salvador Dali, Suko, Karen Finley. Actually met Karen Finley.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Andrea Serrano. Also
Nice.
met him. And, you know, all the usual.
Something occurred to me earlier today when I was looking at your painting. I believe it's called "It Came from Under the Freeway" or just under the freeway.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of Goya's Saturn devouring his child.
Yes.
A little bit.
I tried to get that in a little bit of the way it was like.
So I caught that appropriately, right?
Yes, he did.
Nice. So there's something else before we look at some of the art. There's one work in the show that is different from the others, and I guess it's a collaborative piece to a degree.
Yes, very collaborative.
And that's
Stretching the collaborative.
That's the shirt. We have an image of that.
Yes. Let's collaborate.
So tell us about this.
Okay, so this is the shirt that I was wearing when I was stabbed almost to death in 1991 at the intersection of Forest Lane and Central Expressway.
Wow. And well, go ahead.
Yeah. A guy jumped into my car and stabbed me a bunch of times, but that was the only one that really counted.
And why do you hold on to the shirt?
I figured it was like, you know, a memento mori, like why not hold on to it? People told me to burn it. I don't want to burn it.
Yeah. And how has that affected your artwork?
My artwork is already very violent anyway, and that's not the first experience of violence in my life. But it just kind of made it better, I think.
I guess it brought closer to home.
Well, like I already had, like I'd been mugged and I'd been, you know, all kinds.
Unpleasant things.
Yeah. And so, even before, like when I was just a child making art as a teenager,
It was.
I had been studying myths, and a lot of the myths are really violent.
Oh yeah.
So, I don't think it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy or anything like that. I think that it was just like I was already there.
Yeah.
So, actually, like as a teenager, when I had my first show at the Theater Gallery in Deep Ellum, it was a series of 15 paintings and had a narrative story that went along with it. And it had a lot of violence in it. I had never actually experienced violence in my life at that time.
Interesting.
But I was already very interested in violence. And so then some people wanted to buy some of those pieces. And then because like one of the persons who it was a series of 15 paintings, one of the persons who wanted to buy one of the paintings started balking on it because it was a painting of a person being shot.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were like, I have a relative who's been shot. And then I was like, I'm really sorry about that. Like, you know, it's just part of the story. It was a story. And so then they ended up buying it. And so.
Well, I mean, I guess to a certain degree, it gets them to think about their relative.
Yeah, like when I was a kid, I learned to read on Peanuts books. You know Peanuts?
Yeah.
So like Peanuts is like
Charlie Brown.
Brown and fucking, sorry.
No, don't worry about it. Lucy,
Lucy,
Snoopy.
and they're like Snoopy is fighting the Red Baron.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So like when I was a kid, it always seemed like that was very close in time
Yeah.
about the whole World War II. I didn't understand the difference between World War I, World War II.
Yeah.
It was all like really like it's like you saw on TV. It was like Hogan's Heroes and all that shit.
Yeah.
And so World War II and World War I didn't know the difference of that when I was a kid. And so, and Peanuts and Snoopy and the Red Baron. And so, like, I learned to read on Peanuts and Snoopy. And so I started to draw these, like, big tableaus of armies of Snoopy dogs fighting armies of Nazis
Wow.
across a big chasm. Like, so like the Snoopies would be over here and the Nazis would be over here.
Wow.
And they were like,
It's almost like Henry Darger-esque, but instead
kind
of
of like
Vivian
that.
Girls, you've got
Yeah, I
Snoopy.
mean, I didn't know about him.
Well, no, I mean, do you have any of those left?
There's some at my mom's house.
Oh my
yes.
gosh, I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
That sounds so cool.
They're all manila paper, and it's like, okay, so imagine like, okay, everybody, whoever's watching this, like, okay, forget about what's behind me. So like, imagine plateau of, you know, and this comes down to a big cliff. And then over here, like a plateau that comes down to another big cliff. And then there's like Nazis over here. And then Snoopy's over here. And then they also have like super underground bases.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
it's really sophisticated.
Yeah. And then they're like all like, and there's like airplanes and tanks and shit all coming.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was only going to progress from there.
Yeah. And well, so like when I was in kindergarten, my kindergarten teacher was very concerned about
I'm
these
sure.
drawings.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she contacted my parents. And they were like,
Well, your mom is what, a psychiatric
She's a
professional?
psychologist,
Psychologist, so
Yeah.
she'd know.
yeah, you know, she's like, whatever. That's just Thor.
He's an artist.
Yeah.
Is there like a pervasive like commentary on violence, or do you just know it so well that's what you draw?
I'm not sure how to answer that question. I think that I'm making art as best as I can. Yes, I'm commenting on violence.
Yeah.
And there's also like a mystical side to it
Yeah.
a little bit.
Where you're kind of bringing these things to life
Yeah.
in that world.
Yeah.
And I guess the only options that they have would be sex or violence, right?
Right.
They're going to interact.
That's all well, like sex, food, or violence. Isn't
Yeah.
that like the thing about the world? It's like or God, of course. So
Yeah.
I always try to put a little bit of God in there.
Well,
And,
you know,
I'm not a God believer,
yeah.
but I recognize that the drive of all humans, pretty much,
To find some type of meaning.
yes,
Answer.
yeah, and so that's in there, and so like to me, like the thing about art is like God, food, sex, survival.
It's an interesting that you say survival because to a degree, yeah, there's violence, but someone's probably surviving.
Yeah, somebody's gotta live. Like,
Yeah.
it's like you look at that. Like, that guy's probably gonna die over there, and then like that other guy's gonna go fuck her. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That little shrimpy thing.
Yeah. That's probably the one that's gonna get laid.
Probably. This one's really fascinating. What's going on here?
It's like a big like monster shrimp. It's interesting that you showed shrimp earlier. Like I was modeling it after a shrimp, but it also has robot arms and a gun. And then there's like this other guy over there to the left that's like, "Hey, I'm coming to help." And then there's these kind of weird fish larva things. It's like, but I modeled them after this fountain in Rome.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So like, you know, like they're coming to get you.
So-
Or are they coming to get you? Or maybe they're trying to help you.
So do you have a repository of like these characters and like their weapons and all that stuff like saved?
Yes. Yeah. And I can make them into any kind of situation or scene that I want to.
Wow. I didn't bring any of the imagery of the drawings, but you've got a whole kind of separate suite of drawings that are really, really interesting. And I think about how you said, you know, you didn't like coloring within the lines.
Yes.
You can totally see that in the drawings. They have like a sort of primitive quality to them,
Yes.
but they're really fiery as well. And then you have some that are certainly stream of consciousness.
Yes. I've been very influenced by the, what would you call them, primitives? I hate that word.
Yeah.
But, you know, the art brute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And-
And I feel that way in myself, too, sometimes. Like,
Well, you know, no formal education in
Yeah,
art
yeah.
and kind of self-developed
Right.
style. Really not influenced by any of our contemporaries
Yeah.
that I can think of.
actually, I hate most of the art that's out in the world in Dallas now. Like, if I could say something.
Sure.
Most of y'all's art is really fucking boring.
Oh my goodness.
You need to fucking step it up and make something interesting. Don't just put a piece of dog shit on a cinder block. Don't just like pile up some fucking, you know, wood pile. Get real. Like, do something interesting.
So you're not a big fan of conceptual art?
I love Chris Burden.
Yeah.
That's actually interesting.
Yeah.
I think that most of the people now, like, are doing it, are boring. And I think that being boring is the biggest art sin of all.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, and then, like, the problem is that they try to say, like, oh, well, you just don't get it. You're just not smart enough to get it. Like, I put this plywood, put a bunch of fucking plywood up on a pile, and then I put a cinder block on it, and I put a piece of dog shit on it, and
Don't forget.
Can't you recognize my genius?
And don't forget the string.
You're right. Oh, a string too. You
And
know,
then
like
lean it against the wall.
fuck you. You know, like you paid. You actually, like, the problem is, it's like these people paid a bunch of fucking money to go to art school to learn to do that shit. That's the worst part about it.
Well, I mean,
I know this probably isn't gonna make it into the video. But
oh no,
whatever,
it is.
like
We're live. No, it's cool. It's in there.
Okay.
So when you
So fuck you all.
no.
Yeah, no.
So when you do your
Yeah.
your next series of like plywood against the wall and with little dog shit,
Yeah.
everyone will know that it's contrived.
Well, that's kind of what when Joaquin and I did the White Window, Black Mirror, Black Rucka show, we were making fun of all of y'all
Because it was at Beef House.
at
and
Beef House.
They
Yes.
would have a lot of conceptual stuff
Yeah,
there.
that very place.
Yeah.
Yes, it was actually like super meta.
It was meta.
Yeah. And so, you know, like, we were trying to make a statement about all that stuff, and about, like, I actually did put dog shit on a cinder block there.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
And people, was that a favorite piece? But
nobody
a lot of-
noticed
no one
because there was
noticed?
so much other stuff going on, of course. It was off on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't there like a pulley or something in one room? Or I don't know. There seemed like
And
there
I
a
was like
contraption.
singing karaoke off in the back.
I remember
like,
that part. Yeah.
You took some great videos
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah. It's interesting for those of you that don't know Thor or his work, Google him. And there's quite a bit out there. On Glass Tire a few years ago, they featured a series of photos that you took during the state fair over
Yes.
the course of several years. And that's really something, just to be able to see through your eyes. Very definitely publishable work.
Yeah.
That's out there on Glass Tire, and
Yeah.
and then there are just a lot of really interesting articles that have come out in the last several years. You and I were both in the top 100 creatives, I think,
That's right.
a couple years ago.
Yes.
That was fun.
Yes.
But there's a lot out there, and Thor's you're being yourself. So
What else could I be?
what
you
else
know?
could you be? Yeah. But it's the work is definitely maybe not for everybody.
No.
But it's definitely like
definitely not
super
for everybody.
authentic. And I mean, there's certainly craft involved. There's a message. It's there in front of you.
Yeah.
And you know, I definitely recommend that people see it.
Yeah. My art is all about love and peace and togetherness and how everyone should love each other and get together beyond their superficial you know, whatever is keeping them apart, and just try to love each other. Try to be together. Don't hate each other. Don't fight.
So you're showing like a dystopic world to try to maybe bring people together and away
Exactly.
from that.
Yes. Like the world that I'm showing is not the world that I want to exist.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I'm trying to get people to be the opposite of that.
Guide people in the
Yes,
right
to
direction.
be a utopia of love and
Yeah.
peace. And I'm an idealist. Like, I have very strong political opinions that I don't share with anyone. Yeah, but they're all about peace and love.
Yeah.
And you might not understand that from looking at my art, the face value of it.
When you say it, though, it does make sense. And it really does.
Yeah. Just look at it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, honestly, like, I think anybody that has a brain could look at my art and get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, they're not going to think, oh, this guy wants to have a fucking apocalypse.
No, it would have.
You know?
It would, that would look different.
Yeah.
So, what makes you excited about Broken and showing alongside Joaquin West?
I love Joaquin West as a person, and I love his artwork, and it's so amazing. And actually, like, I felt like Joaquin's show was one of the best shows I've ever seen in my whole life. And I'm not just saying that for the people out there in TV land. Joaquin blows me away. And I was actually intimidated about being in a show with him. We've been in shows together before, but we never had a show like together. And so he had all this work that was incredible, amazing. And then he told me about like what he was going to do with painting the walls, to extend the narrative of it.
Yeah.
And so,
Super powerful.
yeah, it's amazing. And so, like, I felt like I really had to step up a little bit in order to match at least what he was doing. And he was amazing, and
I'd say it works.
I felt like I did okay.
I think it works really well together. I mean, the two narratives kind of
I
they
think
balance each other out.
We're both about like people hating each other, and the groups hating each other,
and then trying to find a way out of it.
And they're trying to find a way out of it, and they're fighting, and then kissing, and then like, you know, everybody kiss, like just hug each other and kiss. Like,
so
that's my advice. Just, like, honestly, like, you know, like, what else is there? There's nothing else. There's like,
we only have each other.
You could like just like spend your whole time hating people. What good does that do? Just like, you know, just try to love people. Yeah.
So the show is called Broken, and Joaquin's show is also called Broken, and they're on through the 29th of June, and we'll have a closing reception at Row 2 Art on the 29th of June. So
29th.
I recommend people come see the shows and then come back for the closing, and allow some time to kind of peruse and you know, don't form an opinion right away. You know, take it all in and then come back and ask some questions.
Yeah.
But that's anything else? I think we're about done for today.
Just try to love each other, and like when you're hating people, breathe in and breathe out.
It's a good one.
That's what I do.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, and I will see you in a couple weeks.